Alrighty, we will go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Chamber's fourth joint webinar of an eight-part series with DeVry University. For those of you who I have not met or do not know me, my name is Natalie Layton, and I am the pleasure of serving as the Chamber's Vice President of Membership. We have an excellent webinar today discussing how to take your career to the next level. So with that, let's get on with some brief housekeeping before I introduce our wonderful presenter. Please note that this webinar is being recorded and will be distributed to our participants and our membership, as well as will be available on our YouTube page. Please feel free to use the raise hand or Q&A feature that can be found at the bottom icon bar of your screen. Our presenter, Laura Knapp, will be able to answer your questions as they're asked, and of course, after the webinar as well. We also encourage everyone to participate in the chat box during the presentation. And if you would like to know more about membership in the Chamber, just send me a quick note and I will follow up with you. Now I have the pleasure of introducing today's presenter, Laura Knapp. Laura is the Center Dean at DeVry University and its Keller Graduate School of Management, in Long Beach, joining the school, oh boy, it is Friday, joining the school at the end of 2016. Laura is a Southern California native and longtime Long Beach resident, having lived in Bixby Knolls and California Heights neighborhoods in Long Beach over the past 20 years. She earned her Bachelor's of Arts at Cal State Long Beach and MBA at USC's Marshall School. She's a member of the Long Beach Rotary, the LB Chamber, Toastmasters, and is the current chair of the South Coast Higher Education Council. She's passionate about education, which helps equip graduates to make a difference in fast-growing sectors of the economy. So thank you so much for joining us again, Laura, and I'm going to pass the baton to you.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much, Natalie. Thank you for that lovely intro. And thank you to the Chamber again for working with DeVry to put together this joint webinar series. We've been covering professional development topics and we'll continue to do so into February. So for those of you who have already attended some of these webinars, welcome back. And I hope to see many of you at some of the upcoming ones as well. So today what we're going to talk about is taking your career to the next level. How to set yourself up for the next move. And I think this is very apropos, right? With the pandemic, so much has changed. Nothing is status quo anymore. Do you agree? Everything's changed. So, and even if we have the same rule, right? We're working from home, we're working remotely. Strategies have changed to help service our clients in a different way. Our partners may have changed. We may have new partners, old ones moving out. So much is in flux. And so people find themselves, I'm hearing, asking this question, am I on the right path? New roles have been opening up, right? Due to new technologies and everything else. And so anyway, lots of change around us. Am I in the right role? Am I ready for promotion? Is it time for me to move up? Right? How can we know more? How can we clarify this for ourselves? So that's exactly what today's webinar is going to be about. I definitely welcome your feedback, and we do love to use chat with these webinars. So feel free, please chat any comments, any questions, any feedback, any of your experiences. I find that that's almost like an adjunct value add to this entire webinar. So feel free to leverage chat. Open that up and feel free to ask me any questions at any time, and we'll also answer them at the end. But these are the learning objectives, let's say, for today. In a nutshell, the agenda is we want to better identify, are we ready for advancement? We may feel ready, right? We may have been waiting for some time. Nothing's happening. We're kind of in that waiting mode. We want to advance, but are we ready? And do we look ready? Right? We're going to talk about promotable qualities, and we may feel ready on the inside, but moving up through an organization, let's just say it's a contact sport, right? It's not just us to say, okay, I'm ready, promote me into this next job. It is a contact, it is sort of a team environment, and we want to make sure that our inside, I guess, matches the outside. Do we look promotable? Do we have those qualities that employers tend to agree these are promotable qualities, right? And if not, if something's missing, how do we get there? And then we're going to talk lastly about the benefits of mentorship. And certainly if we're ready to take that next step, mentorship is going to be key. Now more than at any time, perhaps, we're going to want to make sure that we have a reactivated mentorship, and maybe even a couple of different mentors for different, different reasons, and with different capabilities and skill sets and experiences. So we're going to talk a lot about mentorship towards the end. Okay, so moving right along. Yes, okay, valuable question. How do we know if we're truly ready for that next step? And would love to hear from anybody, in the audience. How do you know? How do you know if you're ready? What is that feeling, or what is that, what are you sensing when you know you're ready to move up? Any feedback from the audience? As you think, as you think about that, I'm going to go ahead and share with you some questions we can ask ourselves. Whoops. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Yes. That is often, yeah, not feeling challenged enough. That's a very common feedback. We know our job. We're certainly capable. We know every facet of the job. We're doing it. We're accomplishing things efficiently and easily. And we're starting to feel like, okay, what is that next step? Not feeling challenged enough. Okay, couple more ideas, questions that I have come up with. And these are also kind of gleaned from just the research and the experience that the Keller Graduate School of Management, our career services team, has come up with over the years. With their feedback, we have an advisory, board with employers and everything. And so this is sort of the feedback and the research that we have gleaned over the years. So signs that you are ready are exactly, you've mastered your current role. Okay. So you've mastered your current role. You're able to efficiently and easily get things done. And you know every facet of the role. And you're at least capable, in each and every area. And maybe some areas you're exceeding, right? In fact, you're receiving consistently high reviews overall. Most organizations, many companies have sort of like individual performance plan, IPP, an annual review or something like that. And if you have that situation at work, at your organization, are you consistently getting really positive remarks from your manager, your supervisor, right? Are you exceeding? Oftentimes there's categories 1 through 0, I don't know, 1 through 4, 1 through 5. So are you in that exceeds area consistently? Okay, so that's one thing to ask yourself. And again, if we're not, getting those reviews or what have you, or if there are areas of our job that maybe we kind of try to ignore, pretend don't exist, and we don't do very well in those areas, these would be the gaps that we want to explore and fill those gaps. Have we completed stretch assignments? Have we been assigned stretch assignments or projects? And have we successfully completed them with documentable, positive outcomes? Right? So have we been part of a big project that we were assigned to, and it's done and it was successful, and you can document that, or you can put that even on your resume. You can discuss it with your supervisor. It's tangible. Have you been tasked to train other people in your role? Either new hires, hey, Laura, can you train this, or help shadow this new person, or maybe somebody who's struggling, right, and needs a little bit of extra investment, and you're asked, hey, Natalie, Amanda, can you work with so-and-so, to help bring them up to speed or share with them your best practices, right? Have you been tapped? Okay, so these are definitely not exhaustive. These are not all of the questions, but this is a very, very solid start. These 4 questions, mastering that current role in a quantifiable way. If there's anything quantifiable about your role, can you say, yes, I've brought in 4 new donors, over the past 12 months, which equal X amount of, dollar amount. Can you quantify that? Are you receiving the high reviews? Have you completed stretch assignments or projects? And have you trained others? So really good start here. And maybe you're telling me, and feel free to share in the chat. Yeah, Laura, definitely, I've done all of this, and more. Maybe there's a few areas that you've, jotted down, to look into and maybe take on more responsibility or things like that, or just pay more attention to. Okay, but what, if we do feel like we're there, if we do feel like we're definitely ready, what does promotable look like? And I mentioned at the beginning, it is a contact sport. It's not just how we're feeling on the inside, but do we look promotable, right, from the outside? And I'm going to ask you, what does promotable look like? Have you promoted people in the past? right? Or giving people, raises, new assignments. Have you been in that role, right? Or have you seen that happen around you? What does promotable look like to you, right? There are certain characteristics, I guess. Okay, what does promotable look like? What are those characteristics and qualities? And again, we may feel great on the inside, we're accomplishing everything and even then some. Is that confidence coming across? I guess I would say. Okay. So I'm going to share with you promotable qualities. And again, excuse me, this is from our career services team and their sort of years of research and working with candidates and working with employers. And here's what we've gleaned. Promotable qualities include sort of a curiosity. Okay. Does this person show a curiosity? Are they willing? Are they constantly wanting to learn more? Right. And are they taking it upon themselves to learn more? Are they waiting for me, to give them more, resources or more information? Are they continuously learning? Are they attending trainings? Maybe they have a recent degree in the field. Maybe they have a certification that they've undergone, right? Are they conducting their own research and reading articles and maybe have a news feed and they're sharing with the team, interesting information about our industry, about our competitors. Okay, continuous learning is key. Is this person able to prioritize, or do we kind of shy away from giving them new tasks and roles because they're overwhelmed, right? Are their time management skills intact? Are they in place? Do they have advanced time management skills, right? Are they able to prioritize and get things done, right? That's going to be a sign that you can take on new and potentially bigger responsibility, correct? Are they entrepreneurial and goal driven, right? Are they looking for new challenges? Are they eager to accomplish goals, or are they shying away? Would they rather just be, again, given tasks and assignments, to accomplish, ensure they accomplish them, but they're not necessarily looking, for that next new project? Do they exhibit confidence, right? Do they know how to do their role, and they know how to, they know they're doing well, and they're able to exhibit that through their decision making and what have you? So confidence in the role. Do they show confidence? What about interpersonal skills? How about those soft skills? How about, and we do a lot, in terms of soft skills training at DeVry and Keller, and a lot of my webinars are around soft skills. And I think it was LinkedIn CEO Jeff Weiner back a couple years ago said, the world, we have a lot of hard skills. We can find the people who have the coding skills, right? We can find those people. What we're not seeing are those interpersonal skills oftentimes, especially with technical people. Maybe that's a generalization, maybe not. We have the hard skills. What's lacking oftentimes are those soft skills, communications, team building, right? Inspiring confidence, kind of working with diverse sets of people in a really positive way. And then cross-functional ability. Some people become very expert in their role, and that's great, or in their department, or in their, let's not call it a silo, but in their area, subject matter experts across the board, but they're not as versed, and maybe there's an opportunity for them to understand how they fit into the larger organization, right? Do they understand, if they're in business development, do they understand how accounting works? Do they understand how the compliance team works? Do they have friends, or people that they would consider, good contacts in different groups across the board, across the organization, right? And maybe are they even cross-trained? Have they taken on a project that crosses over one or two different parts of the organization? So is there cross-functional ability? Okay. So these are just some of the questions that I would like us, to ask ourselves so that we know that we are ready, and so that we do have that level of confidence, right? We can kind of confirm with ourselves, yes, I am truly ready. It's not just because I'm bored per se, but I'm ready to keep moving, right? I've checked these boxes. Okay. And the previous slide, you may say, oh my gosh, Laura, yes, I do have all of these abilities. Okay, but how can we make sure, I guess, that we are promoting these qualities, right? That we're promoting these qualities and that the people around us know. And again, it's not just what I think or how I feel internally. And this is maybe, part of our personal branding. And I've talked about personal branding in prior webinars, the LinkedIn one, I think in particular. We talked about ourselves as a brand. So are we able to, how do we communicate these skills and aptitudes externally? Okay. And again, I'm going to ask the audience. Okay. I'm going to ask the audience, how would you show an employer that you were open to learning or that you're a continuous learner? I'm going to take a minute, have a little bit of my coffee. So I'm going to give you a second. Yeah, asking questions. Right? Exhibiting curiosity by asking questions. Right? How else can we show an employer that we're open to learning? Right? Exactly. Researching and learning new things on our own, and then obviously sharing that knowledge in some way, shape, or form with our team. Right? And putting that knowledge to good use. Right? They say knowledge is power. Really, until it's being put to good use, right? That's where the power is. When you put that knowledge to good use. How can we show that we are entrepreneurial and goal driven? What would that look like? Right? What does that look like on the outside? How can we make it just really, really apparent that we are entrepreneurial? What does that look like? In a way, it's, the proof is in the pudding. The proof is in the pudding. Do you have accomplishments that you can speak to? Have you been assigned to, or maybe you've come up with a project on your own to solve certain problems at the workplace, right? Maybe you've contributed sort of, to an extracurricular project, something outside of your job description, right? That would show that you're goal driven and entrepreneurial. How do you show interpersonal skills, right? Again, I think the proof is in the pudding a little bit, but any comments from the audience would be welcome. How do you show? I have great interpersonal skills. Oh my gosh, my communication skills, what have you, right? My team ability to work in a team. How does that come through? How can we be more intentional in making sure that our supervisor knows, that we do have these interpersonal skills? And yeah, probably again, the proof is in the pudding. People say, oh my gosh, Natalie is so good, working with a team of people. Her interpersonal skills are great. Amanda, your communication skills are, really, really above par, right? So kind of the proof is in the pudding, but sometimes we get so busy, right? So I think we have to be very intentional, right? To not fall into that trap of I'm working so hard. I am so busy. I don't have time to show off these skills. So it's very, very good, I think, to remember that career is, it is a contact sport. It involves so many more people than just myself, right? John Maxwell says one is too small a number to have huge growth, exponential growth. Okay, so career growth is the same. It's not just us. It's not just the singular. We have to think, in the plural, and we have to think of our team, the people around us, and how we're really interacting with them and showing off our skills in a way. Okay, so here's some very practical ways. If you're saying, I'm not sure how, am I really showcasing? Does my brand show off? And this is not bragging, but this is clearly communicating in a very purposeful way that we do have these qualities, these promotable qualities. Okay, and it's taking a little bit of ownership in terms of who we are as a brand. So how can we show our continuous learning? Well, it starts by attending if there are optional trainings at your workplace, make sure you're attending them, right? And if you show up and attend them, are you asking questions? Are you engaged? Okay, and again, are you applying that knowledge from the training in a very quick way to your work? Okay, are you applying that knowledge? Are you attending classes outside? A really cool way to show, curiosity and interest in continuous learning is many organizations have tuition reimbursement, right, programs. Not everyone, but many organizations do have tuition reimbursement or even educational discounts with certain schools or academies. And this is one of the benefits that is so often left on the table because people don't know about them. And if you're unaware of any programs like this at your organization, I would just ask, do we have tuition reimbursement? Are there any education deals that I can take advantage of? Is there something I can earn, like a certification? If I'm in HR, there's so many certifications, or project management, or IT. Of course, we know there's so many certifications out there that you can earn. So why not ask about those, right? And dive into a program. Even if you have like a Skillsoft or a learning management database at work, are you diving into some of those modules and learning new things or brushing up on existing skills? Okay. And if you're doing so, again, don't hide that light under a bushel. I don't know. There's a saying, don't hide that light. Let your supervisor know, hey, I just went through this project management training on Skillsoft and it was great. Here's what I learned. Here's how I'm going to apply it. Okay. Moving right along, the ability to prioritize. Are we accomplishing? Are we sticking to deadlines that have been, given to us? Right? The more we're organized and managing our time in a really good way, and I do have a time management webinar coming up, the more we can accomplish just naturally. The more we're going to be able to stick to those deadlines and mini deadlines, interim deadlines, the more we can accomplish. But if we're constantly feeling overwhelmed, there may be just something missing in terms of time management, and it's something completely learnable that we can take on so that you can start accomplishing more. It was actually Bill Gates. I read in an article, he said that throughout school, he was always a very last minute person. He waited until the very last minute to study and to cram for finals and everything like that. And he took that habit into his early career as an entrepreneur. Yet as his company grew and grew, it wasn't cute, it wasn't funny, and he wasn't, he was not getting the respect, I guess, that he really needed and deserved, right, as this great entrepreneur. And the minute he decided to let go of that habit of not preparing, way in advance for meetings, for example, the more his company grew. Okay, so the more we're able to plan our time, the more we can accomplish, and the more promotable we are. Okay, how can we showcase that we're entrepreneurial and goal driven? Again, showing accomplishment in sort of those stretch assignments, asking to be assigned to stretch assignments, right? Or if you see a challenge in the organization and you know exactly how you could add value, kind of bringing that to the table and letting your supervisor know you have the wherewithal, not only to do, right, your regular work, but also to tackle something new and different at the workplace. Confidence, right? Are you showing that you're confident? Usually this comes through in decision making. Are you able to make thoughtful, fully informed decisions without taking forever, without being indecisive, right? So confidence in decision making, and being comfortable with those decisions, no matter what the feedback, comes back. Was it a good decision in hindsight or a bad decision? Taking that in stride and using the outcome as just more information for you to continue on and, making great decisions in the future, right? Are you a good decision maker, right? Do you have that confidence? Interpersonal skills, and we all have, our friends at work, the people we love to work with, our colleagues, our, the people that we're in touch with every day. Are we able to work with diverse members of our own team or outside of our team, right? Have we branched out, right? Do we have, I guess, and again, it's kind of a confidence thing. Are we able to work with different, people who are different from our own group, I guess, outside of our own department in a very successful and productive way? Do we have those relationships, within our team, but outside of our team as well? Okay, interpersonal skills, right? And there's a lot of soft skills training out there. If you feel like, oh my gosh, maybe I am a bit shy and I haven't branched out from my own department. I don't have a lot of contacts outside my own team. There's a lot that you can kind of study and learn, in terms of, kind of developing those skills. So if you identify that as a gap, no big deal. Just jot it down and let's just pay attention to this, right? And try to build these skills. And again, cross-functional ability is very similar to this, being able to work with different teams, not just our own team. Okay, but if something comes up, you're in business development or you're in accounting and business development, and there's a cross-functional project coming up, volunteering for that and being a very engaged, right, member of that team and helping that project succeed will showcase that very promotable skill of cross-functional ability. Okay. Any questions? Any questions? Lots of information. Feel free to take down notes or let me know what questions you have or any additional ideas that you would have about how to promote, these qualities that you have. Okay. What if something is missing, and you say, okay, Laura, this is great. I love these promotable qualities. I'm not sure. Either something's missing, either I don't have them, or, I'm not showcasing them enough, right? Could be one of the two or both. Okay. What if something is missing and you're like, I was so ready for that raise. Now I'm not sure if I'm ready to move up. I'm not sure if I would be considered for that big role, you know. And I'm not saying don't apply for it, right? But it like anything, it takes a little bit of planning, a little bit of work, okay, a little bit of foresight. We want to look ahead and see how can we prepare ourselves, for a really successful transition up, you know, up into that role. One way is to simply ask for feedback. And this may be a friend, it may be a peer, it may be your supervisor, just asking for feedback. Do you feel, that I'm promotable? Are there any things that you would recommend, right, that I could work on to enhance my promotability or to enhance my effectiveness in my current role, right? Ask for feedback. So this could be a direct conversation with your supervisor, or it could be something maybe with a peer, maybe with a colleague, what do you think? You know, and see if you can elicit that feedback, right, from somebody around you. Another way is, oh my gosh, maybe you do feel rusty, or maybe you haven't been exhibiting that curiosity, that thirst for knowledge, right? And maybe it is a time in 2021 for you to consider either a certification program, something short term, something longer term. Maybe you want to complete a degree, right? Or take on a new one, or maybe you want to hit up, your own internal LMS system, Skillsoft, whatever, Skillport. We have Percipio, or there's Coursera out there. There's so many free learning opportunities as well. LinkedIn Learning. How can I obtain more education in my industry, in my area, or certifications? Another tactic would be informational interview. Okay, scheduling an informational interview with somebody who's maybe related to the role that you would like to get into, right? Or managing that role. And here it's important, maybe you don't want to say, oh yeah, I'm looking to get into this role. I wish you would hire me for it. Can we have an informational interview? Couch it as something very informational. Just say, I would like to learn more about this role. And in that informational interview, you want to ask, would you see my resume? Would you see me as being ready for something, along these lines? Or would you recommend for me, something else to do to strengthen my skills or my abilities? So again, this is really asking for feedback in a really tangible way, within the organization, in the area that you want to go into. Okay, informational interview. Seeking out additional responsibilities. If it's been a while since you've been on a project, or if you've not ever been assigned to an additional project at work, ask for one. Ask for something. And maybe it's something outside of your organization, right? In a volunteer group that you're a part of. Can you seek out additional responsibilities? Okay. That said, if it's outside of your organization, make sure that your employer, knows what you're accomplishing, right? They probably want to know that it's not, kind of impinging on anything that you're doing at work. But let them know what you are accomplishing outside, through your volunteer responsibilities. Now is definitely also a time to increase and nurture your network. And we talked, a lot about this in the LinkedIn presentation, how to increase your network. Now, if you are plotting a plan to move up in your organization, do you know the people that you need to know, right? Is your network large enough? Okay. They say it's not who it's not what you know, it's who you know to a certain extent. Yeah. Are these people within your network? And I don't mean just a LinkedIn network, right? We can all have, friends and connections on LinkedIn, and that's very, very valuable. And you want to nurture those connections and get to know these people within your own organization, right? Are you networked well? Do you have enough people in your network. How can you increase that network and how can you nurture it? And you don't need to tell everybody, you don't need to telegraph that you're looking to, for this big promotion. But I think it's okay to let people know that you're looking to grow. You're looking for growth opportunities. You're looking to for personal growth, professional growth, right? That's okay to communicate across and get across. Not necessarily, oh yeah, I'm looking to, replace my manager because I hear that he or she is leaving. Maybe that you want to hold back in terms of telegraphing, that you want a big change. Okay. Now, you want to live basically in a way, you want to make sure that your brand, your current brand is aligned with what you want to accomplish. Okay. And so if you feel like you're fully ready, those 4 questions that we went through, you're like, yes, absolutely. And you feel like you are a curious person and you have leverage, you're a lifelong learner, et cetera, and you meet you have these promotable qualities. Again, are they being, communicated in a really good way? Is there anything you can update on your resume or in your LinkedIn profile to better communicate where you are and what your accomplishments are and what you're currently working on, to showcase, to really, showcase your brand. Okay. In essence, we do need to be willing to change. So if there were any areas that I just went through and you're thinking, I hadn't thought about that, maybe I do need, some help in certain areas. Basically, it's about having a willingness to, to be coached potentially, to make changes, to get outside, bottom line, your comfort zone. Okay. To show your leaders that you are truly a go-getter if you're not necessarily seen that way currently, right? Get out of that comfort zone and show that you're ready to take on more responsibility, and just being very purposeful and intentional with that, and consistent with that as well. So not just coming to work and doing the same thing every day, doing everything perfectly and in a great way. What else? How can I get out of my comfort zone, to show that I'm ready for more? Okay, so that in a lot of ways, that's a very personal question. No need to chat anything, but certainly you want to ask yourself, how am I going to get out of my comfort zone to make sure that not only I'm ready, but that the people around me know that I'm ready. Okay. Okay, moving right along. So as we are, coming up with that plan and making sure that internally we are ready, externally we look ready, we have these promotable qualities, we want to really be thinking in the future, towards that future date where we have, that promotion in hand. How do we get there? Mentorship is going to be very key. And I always say mentorship is key always, right? Throughout our careers, but especially if we're looking for growth, it's important to have that mentor. And I know many of you already have mentors in prior webinars. You've said, yep, I have a mentor, or I am a mentor to somebody else. Okay. Right now, if you're looking for career growth, would be the time rather to really reactivate and invest in that mentorship relationship if you have one already. If you don't have a mentor, now would be the time to look around you, right? And say, who within my network would be a valuable mentor for me? Okay. I guess who has a mentor now? I'll just open it up to the audience. Who currently has a mentorship relationship where you meet regularly and you ask questions and they give you feedback, somebody in your industry or at least in the role that you would like to have. This could be something very formal or just even informal, somebody that you highly trust. You trust their experience, you trust their feedback. Okay, exactly. Absolutely. Yes. Some of us are very good at, we want to help the people around us and we take on a mentorship, kind of position with somebody else. But I think throughout all levels of our career, right? Certainly as you advance, you want to have a mentor that can help you with your next step as well, your next couple of steps. Absolutely. So now would be the time to look around us and see who might I, want to reach out to and ask, right? And just ask. And maybe there is a formal program. I would definitely encourage you to ask at your organization, is there a formal program that I can take advantage of? Right? Sometimes that's there, or maybe your supervisor can recommend somebody for you. But I think oftentimes, it may be something informal that you just look around, your network on LinkedIn, the people that you know, the friends of friends, and try to understand around you, who might be somebody, good for you to learn from. And there are multiple different types of mentors. Okay. So, and I'm going to sort of unpack this with a couple of slides here. One type of mentor is like a counselor. Okay. This individual will be able to provide you with guidance and tips to help you succeed. It's almost like a career coach or a life coach. They're able to distill really good and heavy life lessons into very, very accessible, memorable, I guess, sound bites, or clear advice that you 100% trust, right? Okay, the counselor. After you've spoken with your counselor type mentor, you feel inspired, you feel able, you feel enlightened, right? You know more, and you feel like you're able to conquer the world, right? The counselor, right? Maybe it's somebody in your friend group, who amongst your friends, is a really good counselor. Who can you tap into a little bit more? Again, this is a very pivotal time. If you're thinking about making that next step, we definitely want to, reestablish, reinvigorate any mentorship relationship that we have out there. Maybe you know somebody out there that is just an excellent example or role model. And it's not that they're a counselor to you per se, but there's somebody who is living the life that you would envision for yourself. You're like, oh my gosh, this person is just, they're so accomplished. Maybe they're older than me, they're more seasoned, they've accomplished a lot. I would just like to know more about them. So maybe that's somebody in your network that you would like to get to know more and ask them, I'd like to learn from you. Would you consider sort of an informal mentorship, right? And we're going to talk about how to ask, somebody to mentor you in just a second. And I would love to hear your feedback as well. But yeah, the example, the role model. And really, maybe you have a couple of mentors, right? Since there are so many different types, I don't want you to think that there's only, you can only have one mentor. Maybe there are several people within your network that you can get to know that are going to be able to mentor you in different ways. Another type of mentor is the listener. Okay, who of you has a mentor like this, or a friend like this, or a colleague, somebody that just allows you to vent and be a sounding board? Non-judgmental. They're going to take it all in, everything. They're not going to cut you off, right? The listener. Okay, you can express your frustrations. This is actually good to have. Somebody that you can just sort of share your frustrations with, and and then in turn they can help you understand maybe where those frustrations are coming from and help you to channel those challenges into something positive, right? The listener. And again, do you have any friends or colleagues, people in your network that are really good listeners? And maybe it's time to ask them, hey, do you mind meeting with me on kind of a monthly basis or weekly basis if you don't already? I would love to just, have a formal mentor in a sense, because I'm looking for some career growth moving forward. Okay, so the listener mentor. This is a good one, the promoter. Okay, the promoter. The promoter is someone who is able to remind you of your greater purpose. And when you're flagging, when you're losing energy, they can remind you of your why and of your strengths, of your talents, and why you need to keep continuing on. Okay, this is a very energetic person. You're going to feel very empowered after speaking with them, after having conversations, with them. So this is the promoter, somebody who can pick you up when you're just exhausted and get you back on the right track. Okay, different kinds of promoters, right? People who may know you very personally, a friend, a best friend, who just gives you that energy, to keep going, keep pursuing. This is a friendship or mentorship relationship that you want to definitely invest in. Okay. Regularly as we plot what that next move. The whole goal of this, kind of this talk is, getting ready for that next move. So being in touch with a promoter, I think, is very, very, it's very energizing. Okay. So who are the promoters around you? And can you turn that into sort of a formal mentorship, for you at this point? Okay. The promoter. There's another type of, mentor. It's not really a mentor, but it's more of a sponsor within the organization. And sponsorship is very key as well. And this is maybe not somebody who's meeting with you on a regular basis and being your mentor, but somebody who can carry your bag, somebody who, I guess, can carry your bag up for you, right? And can talk to people about you, in a very positive way and say, well, I know Laura has these qualities. Oh my gosh, you should meet with her. She might be great for this project or this or that, right? Or Brissa, I know she's really good and experienced in XYZ. You really need to talk with her. A sponsor will maybe see a certain job opening and say, oh my gosh, Natalie, you need to apply for this. This is totally right up your alley. And I would be happy to, make a recommendation for you if you need it. Okay, so sponsor is another type of mentorship, I guess. Not really a mentor, but a sponsor. Very key to have a sponsor in your organization as well, if possible. Okay. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. There's the go-getter type of mentor as well. Yes. Yeah. It's important to have a sponsor. And just to unpack sponsor versus mentor, I think having both, right, is really key. Having a sponsor for you at your organization, or in your same industry, and then also having a mentor who may or may not be, at your organization. The go-getter type of mentorship, right? This is another person. Oh my gosh, this is a very good one. Somebody who has very high standards. This is that person where you're like, I can't believe, they have such high standards for themselves. They're so disciplined, and they're the ones that can push you beyond your comfort zone. Oftentimes you find this in fitness a lot. I don't know. Do you have any workout buddies? People who are like, oh no, yeah, we're going to do this. We're going to run this mile or whatever it is. And even if it's virtual, we're going to do these, whatever, 50 push-ups. We're going to do it on Zoom. We're going to work out. I'm going to push you. Okay. Try to find those go-getters. And is there anybody in your circle, in your network, that can help you career-wise, just like you have somebody who's maybe helping you with your fitness goals? Who is this person in your professional life that has very high expectations and that can push you? So those days where you're just like, it doesn't matter. I'm fine. I don't need a promotion after all. I changed my mind. It's too hard, right? These are the people who are like, oh no, no, we're making this happen. And here's how. Okay. They're going to drive you to success in a way. Okay. Oh my gosh. So I hope at this point you're thinking, around yourself. And again, it doesn't have to be a formal program at work where you sign up for mentorship, but maybe it is. Maybe it is something you ask your supervisor for or about. Okay. Or maybe it's something that you're going to have to take on yourself. So after carefully thinking, what are my needs? What are my goals? Right? 2021, it's still January, right? I know we've jotted down so many career goals for ourselves. Okay, who around me is set up to help me achieve those goals? And again, one is too small a number. We as individuals are too small to create, exponential growth. So who around us can we work with in a mentorship, relationship? How can we, go about asking them, to mentor us? This is just an email, right? And this is something, it's very basic, it's very easy, it's very straightforward. Sometimes I think we overcomplicate, things. Oh my gosh, this is so hard, I can't even find, but I think it's really, let's back up, let's simplify. Who do we know that we know would be of value, to our growth? Okay. And just reaching out to them, either verbally, it doesn't have to be an email, right? But an email at least allows you to sort of, put some bullet points in here and say, look, I'm looking to improve my time management skills. And I know that you're really, really, good at this. And I'm interested in advancement and, taking that leap, to the next place in my career. And I really want to be able to position myself for that growth, as a candidate for promotion. So I'm looking to speak with you for 30 minutes, maybe next week, right? To talk about a mentoring relationship. Let me know what works for you. And again, maybe you don't start with an email, maybe you do. But this is roughly, I think, the approach that you want to take, with somebody. Okay. Let them know that you're inspired by them. You're impressed with their experience. You aspire to do the same. Let them know why them, specifically. What have they accomplished? What would you like to learn from them? Okay. And I think the next step is making this happen, right? Getting into that. If you're saying, I mentor a lot of people, but I wish I had a mentor, right? It is important to make that investment in yourself. It's still early in the year, right? So it's time to set up this relationship now if you're looking to grow moving forward. Okay. Sound good? Any question? I guess, what are other tactics out there? Anybody on the call care to share how you entered into a mentorship, relationship or program? Any other thoughts or ideas on how to get this established in a really positive way? Would love to hear everybody else's kind of experiences. So feel free to continue to chat if you're kind of thinking about that right now. But definitely, now is the time to invest in yourself. Okay. That really sort of concludes, the main portion of my presentation. Okay. But I did want to let you know that if you are, interested in moving forward and taking that next step, how shall I say? I love this visual here because it shows that it can be a messy process, right? It is not necessarily a check the box. Oh my gosh, I watch this webinar and I meet all these criteria and I have these promotable qualities. It can be a bit of a more complex process than that, that involves mentorship. It may involve some twists and turns. You may decide that you want a lateral move as opposed to, going just, up the ladder. You may want to kind of go into a different department and sort of lattice your way up, right? So career growth, I think this visual is perfect because it's not linear. It's definitely not linear, but it does involve self-awareness, right? Pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, building upon your natural talents to turn them into strengths and sort of filling those gaps if you, feel that you have them, and also sort of taking more ownership about your personal brand while you establish a mentorship program. Okay. So kind of not necessarily all at the same time, but these are the elements that you want to weave in to your future journey. Okay. So I'd like to ask you, and I always say, knowledge is definitely power, but it's not, until that knowledge is applied that you start, getting the momentum from that knowledge, right? So what I'd like to ask you, what would you do today? After this webinar, after all the things that we've talked about, what would be the steps that you would jot down, to take with you and to work on starting today? I know it's Friday, but there's still time, or maybe you can set yourself up, for next week. Maybe you take some time this weekend, to think about these things and to develop a plan. Okay, what are the things that you're going to take? And if you're still thinking about those items, I would like to maybe make some suggestions, if I may, right, to develop your plan. Okay, so identify your goals. And, SMART goals. It's important to make sure your goals are specific, that they're measurable, that they are achievable, they're relevant to your future goals, and your future ultimate goals, and that they're time bound, right? If they're not time bound, then they can just keep going on. Years can pass, right? And you're still working on the same goals, and it's all of a sudden flash forward years into the future. So they have to be time bound, right? You have to give yourself deadlines. So identify your goals. If you haven't yet, jot them down and stay focused. It's about consistency. I think it's John Maxwell that talks about consistency and being intentional. And he talks about moving from a goal mindset, right? We have to have our goals. It's also moving into a growth mindset. Okay, so let's have our goals, but let's be consistent and intentional in achieving those goals every day, focusing on growth, growing ourselves as human beings and helping the people around us to grow, right? That's another thing that John Maxwell talks about, is investing in the people around us. It's beautiful to hear that people are mentoring others. The more value that you are giving, right, the more valuable you are perceived. Okay, it's just sort of a natural, thing that happens. The more value you're putting out there, I truly believe that the more value you're perceived to have, and that you do have. It's important to stay positive, right? Each and every day. In the slide with all the, twisty turns, there are going to be twisty turns. There are going to be surprises. There are going to be forks in the road where you're like, oh my gosh, now what? What do I do? So stay positive always. And this is where having a mentor is going to help you, to stay positive and stay future focused. Okay. A lot of times we thinking about the past, maybe mistakes that we've made. Oh my gosh, maybe this is going to make me non-promotable. Do not live in the past. Anything that you learn the hard way, just know that that is the most valuable way, oftentimes, to learn something, right? To really learn something. Okay. You want to live in the present and get make sure your current job is being done satisfactorily, right? Efficiently, easily, successfully. But you want to keep your eye on the prize, right? Stay future focused. And there's actually research out there that I can share it, but I can share the source when we send around the slide deck, that folks that are more future focused, thinking about the future, are more apt and more prone to have higher levels of savings, right? To have basically more resources and to be more successful long term. Okay, so we want to stay future focused. Don't take your eye off that goal. Even if that goal changes, right? Be future focused, be constantly focused on that future goal. Okay. Moving right along, just as I wrap up here, really quickly, I wanted you to know that if you are interested in earning a certificate or finishing up a degree, or just continuous learning, we have many free resources, and I'm going to share that link with everybody at the end of this. There's also a 10% tuition reduction if you are a chamber member or your organization is a chamber member. You currently have access to a tuition reduction at Keller Graduate School of Management and DeVry University, so both the undergraduate and the graduate levels. I also have faculty that will put together customized training for your organizations in any kind of technical areas, cybersecurity, or soft skill areas. And I can give classes and talks as well to your organization. And some of that is, depending on what the program is, usually it's going to be no cost. Sometimes there are training fees, but it's just a conversation with me if you have any interest in any of the above. Okay. I also have, right, the following webinars coming up, okay, throughout February. Next Wednesday, I have on February 3rd, whoops, I have this animation thing going on with this slide, so give me a sec here. Okay, so we're going to be talking next week about collaborating across generations. And this is a type of cross, interpersonal skills thing that I'm going to be talking about. And I know people say, well, you know what, we're all different ages. We're all one team. Why do we talk about this? There's actually been a lot of research in this area that different generations, different cohorts sort of approach problems in very different ways. And so it's important to know about those differences as we seek to work more effectively with people from different generations. Makes sense, right? So this would be a very nice investment if you think, oh, maybe my interpersonal skills, I want to hone those a little bit more. Time management strategies, we're going to talk about on February 10th, effective communications on the 17th, and then project management. If you're not a project manager, but would like to know more about managing projects, then please feel free to join on the 24th as well. Okay. And at this point, this is my contact information, just so you have it on the screen. I'm going to go ahead and pass the baton back to Natalie and Amanda. Thank you so much for listening. And feel free, there's still time if you want to chat any questions at all.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Laura, for that wonderful presentation. And we greatly appreciate DeVry's partnership with this webinar series. And like Laura said, the next webinar is going to be next Wednesday, the 3rd of February at 10 a.m. and focusing on the collaboration across generations. And that is free to our members and $10 to our future members. And there will be 4 more. So please remember that this is only the 4th out of an 8-part series. We're so fortunate to have this great partnership with DeVry and these wonderful informative webinars. So thank you, Laura, and thank you all for joining us. I don't see any comments in the chat. I think you were just so thorough, Laura, that people didn't have to have any questions.
Yes, no problem. No problem. Thank you so much to the Long Beach Chamber once again, and just thanks to everyone for joining today. And I just did want to wish everybody huge success in 2021, professionally and personally and on every level. So thank you once again. Yeah.
Thank you, Laura. And thank you all for joining us. And happy Friday, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful day.